Welcome to Impact Duty. I'm your host, Manisha Dadlani Kripalani, bringing you empowering stories of friends and people I admire. Their voices have given me joy and the momentum to share their stories with you. Piya Marker is a besotted mother. She has been a special educator for over 2 decades and is currently the director and head of the Aditya Birla Integrated School for children with learning difficulties. The school has won many awards and accolades under her leadership. Piya is a passionate educator, always striving to make an impact one child at a time. In an attempt to reach out to more parents, Piya started an Instagram page that hopes to empower and guide parents while on their journey with their kids. Hi, Piya. Welcome to Impact Duty. An absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Can't wait to chat with you.
Same here, Piya. You've actually amassed over 2 decades within your field. And I'm looking forward to asking you how your journey began. So you're a special needs educator and much more, but did you always know that this is what you wanted to do?
This is a question I get asked a lot, and the answer to that is no. I think I came here by chance. I firmly believe that I am destiny's child because I'm a commerce graduate. And for a year after graduating in commerce, I was not sure what I wanted to do. I have both parents from the corporate world, and somehow that just didn't appeal to me. The MBA, I did the MBA entrance, I did all of that. And then I stumbled upon this course, and I literally thought, let me give it a shot. It was literally something I did because it felt like it would be easy to do. I don't think I had any idea what I was getting into. I also don't know what I said and did that was right, because it's an all India degree course. They had reserved seats for people all over the country, only 30 seats in all. And I think I was the only commerce graduate who got into that program. And I know I had a lot of my classmates who didn't like me for the longest time because they felt that I didn't deserve to be there. But like I said, I think I was destiny's child. I was meant to be there. I think I took to it like fish takes to water, and the rest is history. So it's just one of those things that just, I think, fell into place for me.
Right. And 2 decades, am I right? 2 decades?
A little bit more. I think this June made it 24 years that I'm a special educator.
Excellent, Piya. And going into special needs, and especially during in the Indian scenario, where do you think we've lagged behind in creating facilities and education centers for people with learning disabilities?
So actually, there's a lot of work happening with special needs in India. But I think what tends to happen is people tend to focus on what they can see. So a lot of focus is given to children who have physical disabilities, intellectual impairment, cerebral palsy, because you can see those disabilities and you tend to need to create spaces for them. But learning disabilities are known as hidden disabilities. They are only prevalent in the classroom. Those children in most other scenarios are absolutely regular, normal, bright, intelligent children. So they tend to get confused with being lazy, with being, just distractible, being defiant, all of those things. So I think it has taken its time for awareness to build up. So we do struggle, to be honest, with learning disabilities, because even parents are quite reluctant to accept that their children need probably a specialized setup, because the mainstream schools are doing their best. But in India, we have large numbers in classrooms. The teachers are not necessarily special educators. So it becomes really hard for them to attend to the needs of these children who on the surface appear to be regular, normal, just probably being playful, naughty, distracted, daydreaming, all those terms that are used for those children. So they tend to fall through the cracks. So it's a little harder for us to get them to come to maybe a school like ours, or for parents to accept or acknowledge that their child needs help. So, but I think like 2.5 decades on, it has improved from where I've started, but we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. And taking further on that thread, how hard has it been to break stigmas in society in terms of creating nourishing environments for people with needs. And where do you think you faced the most difficulty in this area?
So like I said, mine is a school that is uh, focused mainly on children with learning disabilities, and we have about 140 students there, which is
Hmm.
not a large number considering statistics say that 10% of your classroom has a learning problem. So with the
Right.
sheer volume of population that we have in India or in Mumbai as a city, there should be far more children seeking help. But parents are reluctant to make that step out of
Hmm.
the schools that are considered to be your A-list schools or your mainstream schools to move into a specialized setup like ours.
Hmm.
But
Right.
to be honest, once they do make that shift, they are very happy because their children get exactly what they need. We are
Exactly.
challenging them academically. It's not your typical special needs school where you're doing, making cards and candles and you're under challenging the children. We offer them the National Open School Exam or the IGCSE program. It is competitive academically, but our teachers are special educators. We have only 10
Excellent.
children per class, and we have a therapeutic program that helps them. So the entire program is designed to help the child get back into mainstream education at a college level. So I really wish
Wonderful.
parents would take a step in that direction, because we often tell parents if your child has a number, you don't tell them, manage without glasses because glasses don't look good. You give your child glasses. It's as simple as that. So if your child
Right.
needs something, I think parents need to stop worrying so much about what other people feel and think. We have had a couple of students who've come to our school, not told people that they are in our school. They've worn the old school uniform, come in and changed into the uniform before coming in. So while I understand that India is very there are a
Hmm.
lot of societal pressures, there's a lot of
Hmm.
stigma, a lot of all of that matters a lot more in India than it does in the West.
Right.
I think the message you give your child is to be ashamed of the place they're going to.
Mm.
And that would
Mm.
confuse a child, right? Because they, as it is, feel not good about themselves, or they feel they failed themselves in some way because they've
Totally.
not coped. And then to give them that message that, don't tell anyone you're going here, makes them feel ashamed of where they're going. And they get confused because they are happy,
Exactly.
they are doing well. So, I think that would be my appeal to most parents, that
Mm.
don't worry about what people think, because ultimately you do what's right for your child. Your child is going to thrive, your child is going to do well, and it's only going to be a win-win for you and your child, right? People are going to see a successful, happy, well-adjusted human being. And that's
Totally.
what we all want for our children. Ultimately, that's all what we want.
Exactly. Exactly. And what stayed with me right now from the last few minutes of our conversation is the statistic that 10% uh, of children have some kind of learning hurdle or disability. So that's actually 1 in 10. So, I mean, it's quite a profound realization. Thank you, Pia. And the pandemic brought with it its own set of hurdles, its own set of obstacles. So you had to probably change some learning styles as well. I mean, I know worldwide, globally, we were changing the way we as educators or teachers were training and teaching children. What did you face as some of the hurdles, and how difficult was it to use technology in some cases and otherwise?
So I think for us, we literally, and I think that's true for all schools, we had to hit the ground running. I think all of us, because
Mm.
there was no reaction time. Children were online before we had a chance to even orient ourselves with what is, what was new in technology or what was more effective in learning. But I have to say that the teachers have done a fabulous job. And we bettered our program in a way that I think now, 2 years later, we can't go back to the way it was pre-pandemic, because our
Right.
program became so much more rich, so
Hmm.
many more tools and aids that came in that enhanced learning,
Right.
that worked wonderfully for us. So we were training simultaneously and then incorporating that in our lessons. While a lot of people struggled during the pandemic, I did feel that a majority of our students, or a majority of students with special needs, really did well. Because what
Mm.
happened is that we actually became not so much the guide or the instructor for the child as much as we became for the parent. So we
Right.
were actually working with the parent because the parent had to be on the other side of the screen with the child. So in
Right.
effect, the child got almost one-on-one education, and from a mother or a father or a grandparent or somebody who had that child and only that child in focus, right? So those
Right.
children did really well because, we would work, they would see exactly how the school worked. As a parent, you don't get to see how a school really functions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this way, the parents were literally trained, I think, by us for 2 years, and a lot of children have done really, really well. Having said that, in a city like Mumbai or in a country like India, not everybody has the same means.
Totally.
So a lot of people had no devices at home. And when
Mm-hmm.
that was the only way for children to learn, I think that became very challenging for some families because they had to use their cell phone. Sometimes they didn't have internet connectivity. So I think those were issues that largely affected some children. But for
Right.
those who managed to have the device with them or had that technical support, I think these 2 years have been good for them.
Wow. Wow.
And
Excellent,
we've
Piyas.
also learned a lot, to be honest. We've learned so much as a team. I
Uh-huh.
think it's been, I think, multitasking and pushing ourselves also beyond boundaries because a lot of us or a lot of our teachers are not necessarily technologically savvy.
Totally.
And
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, you don't need to be when you're in a classroom, right? You need to be good
Yes.
at content delivery and dealing with the children and all of those things. But we had to all upgrade our skills. And even something like navigating Zoom seemed like a
Yes.
huge, it was like a huge challenge. And now
Right.
it's become like, I mean, honestly, I'm chatting with you and you're in a different part of the world, and it seems so normal and comfortable, right? So,
Totally.
yeah,
Totally. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what was so abnormal has become so normal now. Totally.
absolutely.
And recently, Pia, I've actually noticed the mention of Irobo Kids on your Instagram account. I'm not quite sure what that's about. So if you would like to highlight a little bit about Irobo Kids.
So we actually, we provide a lot of co-curricular activities to our students. So they do one
Uh-huh.
activity a day. The philosophy of school is to have everything under one roof. So when the child goes home, they don't have to run from pillar to post doing therapies and other programs. They can do what they would like to. So we
Right.
have different programs in school other than our therapies. iRobo Kid was one such program that we were doing with the children, which is for the little ones using Lego, using little creation of robots. So there was different one of the programs that we were offering to the children. So I think
Right.
they had interviewed me a while ago, and maybe that's what you had picked up.
Probably, exactly. And on to being the director of Aditya Birla Integrated School. Tell us a little bit more about the school and how it sets how it's set apart from others of its kind.
Okay. So the Aditya Birla Integrated School is 9 years old.
Hmm.
Uh, we are in Fort in Mumbai. We are a school that is focused primarily on children with learning disabilities. Having said that, we do have children who have maybe autism or other developmental delays. And the school runs two programs within the building. So if you would imagine, there are two schools in one premise, two different teams and two different programs running it. So typically what we do is we have only 10 children per class. Our
Right,
teachers are only special educators. Children get occupational therapy, speech therapy, counseling, remediation, all during school hours. They do singing, they do drama, they do your like a robotics program, they do gym, they do yoga, chess, all of that during school hours. So it's a
hmm,
completely holistic program
right,
uh, that is designed to help children do the board exam comfortably and to the best of their ability. So that's what we do. We have a grade 10 and a grade 12 program. Children can opt to go into your regular junior college after grade 10. A lot of them stay back with us and do their +2 with us as well. And
wonderful.
we have so many success stories, so many
Hmm.
students who've gone on to be really successful in their fields. Because I think, fortunately, today, the choices that we have in terms of professions are innumerous, right? You can make a
Hmm.
profession out of photography, out of cooking, out of,
Totally.
any passion that you have, from music, from anything. And the world is, I think, now your oyster, right? So you can do
Totally.
whatever it is that you want if you're passionate about it. So we've got a lot of successful students who take
Right.
a very offbeat track as well. Some of them do the regular, the commerce and the arts, and they go down that road, or they get into family businesses. But a lot of children who are successful musicians, successful
Hmm.
bakers, some working in hospitality, digital marketing. So
Wow.
honestly, it's for us, the success comes in seeing them as successful adults eventually.
Totally. Excellent. And Pia, what advice would you give parents trying to identify their their child on the special needs spectrum? Like you said, it's when it's rather clear cut, or with cerebral palsy or something like that. It's a bit more clear. Uh, how what advice would you give parents in
To be
terms of
very honest,
identifying?
if a parent were to think back, I don't think there's a single parent who has missed the signs when their child was really young. I think a parent's
Hmm.
gut and intuition is extremely strong. But I think
Right,
what tends to cloud that ability to take a step is the fear of social ridicule or stigma or any of those things that come into place. So the minute a parent feels something's not right, honestly, I would tell every parent it's better to seek help and find out that nothing's wrong
right,
than to assume it's all well and then have issues pile up and then you don't know where to start rectifying it. So I would honestly urge all parents to, if something tells you something's not right with your child, seek help. There are so many professionals out there today that can
right,
guide you. All it takes is that one consult for somebody to tell you, you know what, don't worry, it's a phase, it's nothing to worry about. Or someone to
right,
tell you, here are the tests you need to do to investigate further. And that's what we do, right? A child has a fever. Yes, you'll give them a paracetamol, and if the fever doesn't go away, you will do further investigations. You're not going to say it'll eventually go. And if it's a persistent problem, you are going to do a blood test and you're going to figure out the root of the problem. So
right.
I think to all parents, dig deeper. There's no harm
Yeah,
in finding out that you overreacted and there's nothing wrong. Because the flip side is not so much fun eventually.
right. And you mentioned that there's a lot of resources out there. Are there enough resources in India?
Honestly, I mean, when I talk about India, I mean, I'm talking about the city I live in, which is, let's say,
That's
in
right.
Mumbai. There are
Yeah.
a lot of people doing a lot of good work in the metropolitan cities. I know there's a lot of help you can get in Bangalore or Chennai or in Calcutta or in Pune, in Mumbai.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I just feel that if you can find people to help you and guide you, there are a lot of NGOs doing work for those who cannot afford it. There are people who have clinics and setups who can guide and support. So I think the first thing to do is to identify when something's not right and then, seek help in that direction. So there are people out there
Right,
uh, who are able to support multiple number of parents.
right. I'm glad to hear that. And recently, you've also highlighted mental health and suicide in recent talks of yours. Why do you think this issue has been exacerbated recently? And how do we counter this problem?
So I think for children, I know we always think of mental health or depression or suicide as being only adult problems.
Right.
But I think any human being which have emotions, you are going to go through your ups and downs. So I
Hmm.
think children are not removed from this threat or this problem really. So it is happening because there's a lot of pressure on children to perform. There's a lot of
Uh-huh.
also a lot of social media out there that tends to confuse children
Hmm.
sometimes, right? You
Hmm.
identify with somebody who has this perfect life on social media and nobody knows what the true life is, right? So children are also not mature enough to handle that. There's a lot of
Right.
bullying and ragging and people being left out and excluded, and that all leads to a lot of issues with children. So I think it's
Right.
important to build children up and give them a lot of coping mechanisms to
Hmm.
deal with the pressures. Because to be honest, technology and social media is a reality of today. It's a reality of our children's lives. I think as a parent, the only thing we can do is teach them how to use it responsibly
Right.
Teach them where to draw the line between a virtual world and a real world, and be there to talk and support them. A lot of adults tend to tell children, what do you know? Why are you stressed?
Mm.
You have to really do. You're only a child. Why should you be stressed? Stress is what I have. Then children tend to go into a shell and not talk. So
Right.
there is stress that comes from academic pressure. It can come from social pressure. It can
Right.
come from sometimes just a neurochemical imbalance. A lot of children are getting childhood diseases like whether it's thyroid or diabetes, and those things cause your hormones to go out of whack, which can cause
Totally.
a feeling of depression or a feeling of low mood. So I think seeking help is really the most important message out here, I'd say.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Pia, last question before I say goodbye to you. How do we build awareness? And what would you like to see happen or manifest personally and professionally in the near future in terms of your field?
So I think that the most important, the thing that I would love to see actually is parents being brave enough to take that step for their child,
Hmm.
irrespective of what somebody else may think of them. And to be honest, I don't think anyone's thinking anything. Because ultimately, when you make a decision that's good for your child and your child starts thriving, people are only going to applaud you as a parent. Nobody's going to
Hmm.
say you did something terrible for your child. So be brave, follow your gut. If something's wrong, seek help. Don't, act like it's going to go away, because
Right.
problems don't go away. They only build up, and it's better to deal with it when it's a really tiny dot rather than to deal with a
Ah,
mountain later. So I think I would love to see more and more people seeking help, more and
right.
more people talking about difficulties, because I think
Aha.
that's really important. Everybody portrays this perfect life. I have the perfect child, I have the perfect kid, I have the perfect home, and then everybody
Hmm.
else who's probably feeling that maybe my life is a little bit left to desire, they tend to fall into that pressure. So I think
Right.
just be happy with what you have, be grateful for what you have. You don't know what the next person has.
Right.
And sometimes, in somebody else's shoes, you realize it's not so much fun.
At
So I would
all.
say exactly. So just, maybe a lot of gratitude, a lot of silver, looking at the silver lining, because everybody has the dark clouds. We just have to find the silver lining. So, I think that's really important to have as a philosophy in life, and
Hmm.
seek help, honestly, whether it's as a parent, as a person, giving help to your child. I mean, just speak to somebody. It always helps.
Right. Right. Any resources that you can highlight just before I say goodbye to you? Anything that any numbers or any websites we should look into off the top of your
So,
head?
I mean, one of the sister concerns, the same organization that I work with the Aditya Birla Group, there is Empower, which is a center which works with children or adults who have mental health concerns. They have counseling, they have therapy. They also have the foundation for those who cannot afford their, their regular fees. So they do have a subsidized program as well.
Wow.
There's us at the Aditya Birla Integrated School. Happy to help any child, with their academic needs. So we're at Fort. You can look us up at Aditya Birla Integrated School. And yes, I have a page on Instagram, just named Piya Marker, which attempts to help parents or anybody, honestly, who just needs a little clarity, or sometimes you just need that, yes, this makes sense and I'm not alone. So I think there's all of that. So yes, look, hopefully here able to help people. I hope that this talk with you, Manisha, helps us reach out to people, have a couple of parents who realize that, yes, that made sense and I'm going to seek help. And in
Right.
that, I think are our little wins and what we want to achieve, one family at a time, one child at a time. Honestly, that's been my philosophy. You can't
Hmm.
help everybody all at once, but if you impact
Right.
one person at a time, that's plenty.
Totally. Every drop makes that ocean. Pia, I'm so very glad that I was drawn to your page on Instagram because that's how I found you. I'm so very glad that I did find you because it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and you're doing inspirational work. And I can only hope you keep shining and shining bright.
Thank you so much, Manisha. Really, I mean, I'm so glad that my page spoke to you, because I think that's what my attempt was, honestly, just reach out to people. There's no
Right.
agenda. It's just whatever information I have, I'm happy to share and be that place of either information or solace to somebody in need. So I'm really glad. Thank you so much for having me. An
Thank you.
absolute honor. Thank you, Manisha.
Thank you, Piya. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.